I just wanted to throw out this idea that you probably remember I told you a while back that you can get tickets to see the tap play through the library. And a few people have done that. But now Jacob Jansen, who's the artistic director, has requested that we start a play group that's like a book group where you read the play or see the play and then talk about it. So I brought a couple, the first play that we're going to do is one that they're doing at TAP. It's Birds of North America. And he's going to lead the discussion and talk about how a play is different in that you have to present it and what you think about when you present it. So this play is not published yet, but the author gave us permission to print out some copies for this purpose.
Boy, that's unusual.
Yeah. So I have a couple copies if anyone wants to check it out, or you're welcome to go to the theater and see the play and then join us. And he's hoping to do this once a month. So if you're interested in theater, keep your eyes open. It's on the 19th, I think. Does anyone have the paper there?
October 19th.
Here, if you give one of the slips, is there an extra slip? We have more down. I have more downstairs.
Yeah, I'll send this.
We can have away.
And the time?
Here's a slip for you.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go, Adele.
oh, Adele.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
And I don't know if anyone knows Jacob Jansen at all. He's usually there at the theater.
We met.
It turns out he is a local person who went off and had got a lot of theater experience and came back home. His grandfather used to have the Blue Iris, if anyone remembers that, which is now the brewery, whatever the name is, I forget. So he grew up partly here. So that's kind of fun.
Well, and what a good idea.
He'll be here with the
Yeah.
For us and for him. You know,
Obviously
Perfect
for
sense,
him,
yeah.
some of the other plays won't be the ones they're doing necessarily. It's not easy to get a hold of plays, to be honest with you. It's a little different from books. So, but our library at Hoopla has a bunch of them on there. They must have some agreement. Yeah, here.
I'm a great fan of reading plays. I took a couple of courses on play reading when I was in college, eons and eons ago, and I've liked reading
Me
plays
too.
ever since, but I like to read them after I have seen the play.
Okay,
And especially because the dialogue always escapes me. A really sharp play with great dialogue, you go out and you go, I can't remember this. It was so good, but I can't remember it. And then I like to read it
yeah.
after that. So I have a whole collection of plays.
Yes, I owe you, you
You
sent
know
some
I
to me.
do.
I need to give them back to you.
Yeah, and I took some theater classes in college too, because I was into the Shakespeare. And that's of course officially theater, not literature. So I understand your husband writes, and I spoke to a lady, now my brain is getting fuzzy, who is coming out with a book called Micro Theater. Do you know, have you heard about that one? We're gonna
Yes.
have some copies in the library very soon. And does he have a play in there,
Yes.
you know, in that book?
Yes, he
So-
does. Phyllis Zeitlin from
Yes.
Jacksonport. who
Yes, that's
was
the
a
lady.
Spanish professor of Spanish literature. Put this compilation of plays together, and about half of them are Spanish authors,
Yes,
and they're very short plays. I looked at the book. Some of them are only a page long.
said some of them are 10 minutes or less.
Yeah,
But she has quite a background. I was amazed. She taught at Rutgers for 45 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And she translates a lot of big time plays from Spanish into English and taught different Spanish classes. So she's originally from Jacksonport and she works with the Jacksonport Historical Society also. So she's the one who brought the books in, and we're going to have a number of them in the system if anyone wants to check it out.
my daughter is a librarian, and she happened to be here this weekend. And my husband handed her the book, and she cataloged it.
Oh, good for
the
her.
Library of Congress, but she said a lot of the smaller libraries don't use LC
Yeah, that's,
So she's not sure how often it'll be picked up,
yeah.
but it'll be in the Library of Congress system in just a few days.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cataloging is usually in academic libraries.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
public libraries use Dewey Decimal System by and large. So, yeah, very interesting. So a new branch for us to follow. So if anyone needs to know how to do the ticket thing, let me know and I'll try to show you again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. I think I've covered everything. This was a pretty interesting book. I know some people did not like it. Some people did like it. So we'll have to see what everyone has to say. I'm pretty impressed with the author. He is a Nobel Prize winner. He's Sir. I can't pronounce his name very well.
Yeah.
But he was knighted in England. He was born in Japan, but mainly spent his years in England. And he's been up for Booker Prize numerous times and all different prizes. So I guess secretly he always wanted to be a musician, not a writer.
Yeah.
And he loves Bob Dylan. So I think this play has been picked up to be made into a movie. So we'll have to wait and see what happens down the road. But in the meantime, I happened to see this, I stumbled on this movie, so I'm going to quickly show it, the little trailer. It's in the library system if you want to check it out, but it's only Blu-ray. I just put it on hold. So let's see if I can do this. Share screen. Does everyone see that?
Yep.
So this new movie that is out. Oops. I guess I don't have the sound on. Hold on a minute, I'll start it again. I think I have to, I apologize for my lack of technical skills.
Well, it's all relative. You're a genius compared to me.
Share sound, I think, there you go. Let me try that. Okay, let's see if it'll work.
I thought I'd make anything as amazing as Charles.
What's wrong with it?
It's absolutely blown my mind, to be honest with you.
You built my body,
I built his body.
You hear that?
I built his
Yeah,
body. It
just
took
a little bit
72
and my
hours.
tummy is a washing machine.
And his tummy is a washing machine. That's it. His tummy is a washing machine. Took me 72
My
hours.
name is Charles Petrescu.
Charles Petrescu. That's your name, isn't it? That's your name. I thought 24 hours ago I was going to have to crush you up and scrap you. Did you know that?
My name is Charles Petrescu.
Yeah. Already said that. Yeah.
And you built my
And
body.
I built your body. That's it.
So that's a comedy that is just out called.
How radical is Tim Michael's abortion?
Let's off. And I thought it was pretty funny because it's a comedy about a British guy who is lonely, so he builds a robot friend. And instead of being kind of frightening or ominous, it's funny. So.
What is it going to be on television or a movie?
I think it's in the movies, but it's streaming all over. And
Streaming.
I did find one Blu-ray. There's no regular DVD to buy yet, but there's a Blu-ray in the system already. So if anyone's interested in a comedy.
That's fun.
So what did everyone think about this book? I personally went through different changes. Apparently he started out, I watched a video where he told about how he came up with the idea and he wanted to write a children's book. And his daughter is an author also, but also worked in a bookstore and knows children's books really well and said this is not appropriate as a children's book. It'll bring them trauma. So then he decided, well, I'll still go ahead with it and write it for adults. So that's kind of where it came from originally, but he was going to write it as a, one of these anthropomorphic animals or a robot type of creature for kids. So what does everyone think? I had a strong feeling halfway through that this is kind of representing autism in a way.
Oh,
my daughter was in school, she had to, this is like many years ago, she had to write a paper on autism. And I found Simon Baron Cohen, who is the director of the Cambridge Autism Institute, or some such title, said that the autism is actually a lack of empathy. Not everyone agrees with that statement, but that's a whole field that apparently some people believe. So when I saw the way they're trying to train this AI in the book, they're trying to give these AIs empathy so they can communicate with the kids. And so the fact also, I know that there's some autism where programs where they have faces on mechanical things like trains to give expressions and try to teach emotions. Does anyone here know more about it, or?
Well, I taught autistic kids for a number of years, and no, you know, lots is unknown. And they're such a very varied persona, you know. All of them, I think, have some similarities, but boy, there's a lot of differences. And well, as they call it, a spectrum disorder, and some are quite disabled, and then others are quite close to normal. I had a student who's, when I would meet with his parents, his father, I could tell was on the spectrum, but he was an engineer and very brilliant and very successful in his life. So, and the son was very brilliant, but different, you know, and that, but the father was before the days of diagnosis, you know, he was just kind of an unusual kind of a guy, you know, smart guy, but unusual. So I don't know about the empathy thing. I know the emotion thing is really an issue. You know, there's they present as kind of a not too varied emotions.
And I also think this book is trying to tell us that these kids are not communicating well with each other face to face. It's all through screens, and they have to arrange for special meetings. And so I sort of think he's commenting on kids today being raised to be lacking empathy or emotions, social skills. So I sort of put 2 and 2 together there. What does everyone else think? Did you have any theories like that?
I also taught special ed for many years, and not only children, but adults. And I want to make the comment that Amy Schumer's husband is autistic. So they are able to function almost normally. And it's sometimes it's very difficult to tell that they're on the spectrum. But like Jane said, the spectrum is huge.
Yeah.
So anyway, if anyone's interested, there, I found the Simon Baron Cohen thing that I found years ago for my daughter. But anyone else have any strong feelings about the book?
I didn't like
I
it.
love the book.
Who loved it?
I did. I loved it.
I also did. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
I
it.
love the book. I love the book because there were so many levels. I mean, obviously the whole AI thing, and then the emotion thing, the loneliness. I thought it was very topical because of COVID. You know, here we are all stuck inside for a couple of years. You can identify with this. So yes, I thought it was a very, you could read it on any level and get every one out of it. But yes, I thought it was very interesting, and definitely this author is very interesting.
Yeah, I liked it. I find, like, with the other book I've read of his, which was Never Let Me Go, they are so melancholy and so sad. They are so sad. I mean, it's almost crushing for me to read these things, because in this book, I felt like the AI, the supposed machine, had more empathy in her little microchip than any of the other so-called humans. And then she ends up on the scrap heap. I was like weeping.
No.
And what did you think down there?
I started to say, when I first started it, I didn't like it at all. And then I scolded myself and sat down and started really reading it and absolutely fell in love with it. Because the idea of an artificial friend and then taking the place if the teenager dies, how many of us would do that?
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had some dogs I would do that with. You know, I
Yeah.
don't know that I would do it with a child because I think that makes it that much harder to handle the grief. I think that, but the idea of having an artificial friend. And then the idea that the AF, the new series that came out of them
Mhm.
was not as sympathetic or insightful as the model that she was. And it, you know, I had to get past, what is she doing at the window looking at everything, you know?
Yeah.
And once I got past that, and I couldn't put it down. I read the first half in one day and the second half the next day.
I had a similar experience. I started it and then I called Ruth and I said, Ruth, I'm not getting anywhere. It's
They
just,
told me the same.
I'm not getting there. And you said, try again. So a few days later, I started over and I got maybe 20 pages further and I still wasn't into the book. And then I think I talked to your husband, I talked to Bela, and he said, Adele, try this again. It's an important book.
Yeah.
So two people that I respect highly, said, okay, start over again. And then I did go through it. I think I liked it. The topic was grim on the whole, not something I want to think about too much.
I thought the point of view that the public in general had a fear of the artificial intelligence was an interesting concept because of feeling that they would become even stronger and better than the humans. I thought that was
Machines taking over.
Yeah.
take on that. That was one. And then the religion of the whole thing, the fact that
Yeah.
the sun was going down to the barn, so Clara would go to the barn to, make sure
Right.
that
Find the sun.
find the sun, that was the God, that was the church, that was her pledge to give of herself so that, her friend would survive. I thought that religious whole idea of hope and friendship was really strong. That analogy, I liked that.
Good point.
I agree with you.
And when you think about it, it's so important because the sun really does give us all life, gives
Right.
us the food we eat and.
What I was trying to understand, did the sun recharge her?
Yeah.
She had solar batteries.
Okay. I didn't ever quite absorb that. I assumed it, but okay.
Yeah.
I must have still missed stuff, Ruth. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that you could read it again and pick up more.
Oh, definitely.
That whole thing about the uplifting,
Yes.
what did you think about that?
Yeah,
Scary.
kind of frightening. Frightening.
Yeah, from what I understand, that was gene changing,
Yeah.
gene.
Changing of some sort. Yeah.
And so the one older sister died as a
Yeah.
result. And that
Okay.
whole idea.
Can't you see even with today's society with vaccines where there's parents who saying, I don't want to do this to my child because I'm not sure they've got it down yet, that they're not, that maybe they don't know what they're doing. And on the other hand, you've got parents who are saying, yes, I'll do what I can. So you got that same idea, only in a different form, parents trying to do the best for their kids and yet not knowing what that is to do. Yeah.
Well, to me, I read it as this relentless pursuit of getting success.
Yeah.
If you didn't have this procedure, your kid was not going to go to the fancy school. I mean, my God, we're living this now.
Yeah.
People do this to their kids. They drag them through everything. They end up being crazy because they never had a chance to be by themselves or play. And it's just this relentless pursuit of achievement for what reason, who knows? But that's what I took from it. And the genetic manipulation of these kids and the fact that they didn't even know how to be with each other, it's tragic.
Yeah, I kind of took it as that whole genetic, manipulation, and unless there was a risk involved with it, and it wasn't real clear on what that risk was, but it could go south. But if you had it, then only after you had it, then you could be elevated to be in this class.
The elite, yes.
The elite, right, exactly. But-
Yeah, and the way the robot was always judging everybody's class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on their suit, what kind of suit they had on, what kind of clothes they had on.
Well, she didn't have the language to say it was like a designer suit or whatever. I thought that was interesting. It was just, you tell people by their status, by what they wear.
Yeah.
And she described, the robot described the facial expressions.
Yeah.
She had an angry cheeks or angry eyes when she said that. So the robot was really good at reading emotions.
Yeah.
Yes, but didn't
I
have.
had to look, I admit to reading some reviews because I'm like, am I stupid? I'm not getting some of this. But the way she would see things, that they would be in boxes. And I think that was maybe like a function of the way her eyesight was structured. So sometimes things would break up if she was like not on full power or whatever, when she was diminished, when that guy took out her special. So that was, I was like, what's happening? But I read a review and it explained it to me. So then
I confess, I had the same thing.
Yeah, I wanted Cliff Notes.
it's pretty intellectual.
I couldn't figure out how it got on the list. International issues or.
You don't think it's multicultural?
Well, the author is, and he's a Nobel Prize winner, so based on that, I thought I would.
Oh, you
give it
thought
a
that.
third try.
Japanese.
Third try.
Well, if artificial intelligence is going to become part of our culture, which it already is, I can sympathize.
Yeah, it's kind of like what is real and what it, and we're dealing with that now in our society. I kept thinking of, when I was reading this, I don't know if y'all have seen that commercial for Facebook's, what is it, their metaverse or whatever. And it's everyone's on these stationary bicycles and they're riding, but they're riding together. I'm like, no, you're sitting in your living room on a stationary bicycle. You're not with these people. You don't have connection. And for me, one of my greatest fears of all of this has been, you want people to care about each other. You want them to care about the world. You kind of see this whole thing where we're all going to put on our goggles and that's going to be our reality. And so I just kept thinking of that commercial when I was reading this. I kept thinking, oh, sort of like, where's that line? Where's that,
When I was reading that, I was thinking of my son, because my son is an IT specialist in California now. And when he was young, he just read everything he could about computers and he became a real computer geek. To such a degree that when he started college, he walked into the computer room and said, you can fix that by doing this and this and this. And he never took a single class in college on computers because he said he knew more than his teachers. But he had no social skills. And when at Christmas time, everybody would complain because he'd open something and go, and then put it back in the box and close it back up. He didn't have the reaction that they wanted. And then 14 years ago, he met this woman and married her 13 years ago, who's a child psychologist. And now he laughs so hard, I don't recognize him anymore. And he's in this men's group and they do this with a whole group of people. And he's totally changed as far as being so happy and expressive with his happiness. He was happy before.
Yeah.
But,
In
and so when
an isolated way.
yeah, he preferred not to, his dad would say, I can't get him to tell me anything. And I says, okay, when you're sitting with him in the car, ask him about a Winkle engine. And then 2 hours later, he'll stop talking. So I was concerned about that. So when I read this, I thought, I think if people had an AR, an artificial friend, or AF, artificial friend, I think that would be something that would become commonplace in our society.
Okay.
I have a 12 and a 14-year-old grandson's brothers. And of course, they've just been through the 2 years of no in-person school and that kind of thing. And they were visiting in the summer and we were playing cards and they were really enjoying that. And I'm remembering from the 1940s playing cards on somebody's porch on a rainy day. And I said, you should invite your friends over to play cards. And the 12-year-old said, we don't have friends.
Oh,
Oh, standing.
I almost burst into tears right there. And it's true. in a way. I mean, they each have, I think, one friend. But and the 14-year-old is now starting high school. And his cousin, who's 3 or 4 years older than he is, got him to sign up to do sets for the school musical. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God,
Yeah.
he began to have connections.
We had a similar experience in our family. We had a girl, granddaughter who started 4K virtually 2 years ago. And the teacher said, tell me about yourself and your friends. And Lillian said, I have no friends, but I have Grossi. That's me. But I almost cried when they told me that story.
Yeah.
That she wasn't allowed to play in the neighborhood
Right.
at all, which is where a 4-year-old makes their first friends. But she said, but I have Grossi and Opa. And
Well, if they couldn't go to preschool or they couldn't go to regular school,
Well, exactly.
They did.
you know, and when my kids were growing up, I mean, my eldest is 32 now. I mean, if you weren't signed up for stuff, people did not hang out outside and just play in the suburb where we lived. I mean, they
They
just,
still don't. They still don't.
and it's just like, I mean, not that my growing up was all that great, because, you know, you hang up and played, you got beat up by people and whatnot, but you learn to navigate the world.
Exactly.
And the kids they are overscheduled and they don't have these opportunities. And with COVID, I mean, everything is up for grabs as far as I can see. So it's just
having a scheduled play date.
Yeah.
Full of play date.
Exactly.
I had to do that just to make sure the kids see something.
Yeah, and then when my grandchildren were here at Christmas, they were talking to their friends on their tablets. And they have special things where they can only have their friends, but still it's all through the screen and not face to face in the same way. Although they do go to school, so that's good.
It's related. You find those elders in certain societies who are the last people who speak a language. Sometimes I think we're like the last people who know how to like get together with people that we don't know and have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to contrast is that I once worked when my kids were growing up in a middle school in the computer lab, and the kids were asked to write about their favorite thing. And I'd say 99% wrote about an animal, a pet. So doesn't a dog take the place of this artificial friend? And yet dogs certainly have emotions. I know from my own dog.
You don't judge. They listen to you and don't judge.
Right.
And she doesn't, Sarah doesn't either, yes.
Unconditional acceptance.
I'd like to at some point talk about the men in this story, the fathers.
Yeah. What did you think?
Well, I read this a while back. What was the name? Josie's father
Oh, yeah.
comes in from this place, a very conservative, right-wing militaristic almost location. No wonder the mother didn't want him to come too often. Paul, yeah. And then the other man was the former boyfriend or man friend of the boy's mother. I'm losing their names, so it's been a while now.
Vance or something? I can't remember.
I have a list of characters here.
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Anyway, yeah, all the men seemed a little bit out there.
Yeah.
The mothers seemed a little bit more grounded.
Well, what about Rick?
Yeah, Rick was a nice guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, Rick was, but he was.
Because he wasn't tampered with.
He was young. He was young.
That's exactly right. He wasn't, was he?
He wasn't.
Genetically modified.
Yeah. But neither were the fathers, presumably.
No.
Paul wasn't. He just went out anyway.
Yeah, but that was the idea of the part of society that was against the artificial intelligence. That was Paul's side. That's where he was coming from.
Yeah.
They're worried about the artificial intelligence taking over. So I get that. I thought he had a real honest approach to his daughter. I kind of liked Paul. I don't think he was a bad guy. I kind of liked him.
I found it interesting how he called her animal all the time. Like, animal as opposed to, some sort of manipulated thing.
Like he was, like she was his pet almost.
Well, oh, I didn't think about it that way, but yeah. I was just thinking more like human, man kind of thing.
Animal, vegetable, mineral, didn't they?
Yeah. Right, right.
She's the animal.
True.
But she liked it. She responded well.
That was her pet name, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed, the author's style, one of the things I saw as he was developing the story when this was what I think made it so confusing in the beginning was that we as a reader were seeing this world that was through Clara's eyes. As she was interpreting what she was seeing out the window, that's how we were seeing what the world was like there too. And I think that's partly what made it confusing. And yet I think that's what the author, how he kind of made it interesting, I thought anyway.
Yeah. It was disorienting.
Yes.
Yes. Mixed up.
Yeah. It was cool. I mean,
And
maybe
what
that's
was,
big
what was
review.
the fluting machine? The machine that
Yeah,
solved
the
pollution.
Cooting's machine,
Yes, the pollution, yes.
just digging in the roads or
Does that
something.
represent contamination of our environments, just general?
And it was interfering with the sunlight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I just said I hadn't even thought of the interfering with the sunlight, the sunlight being her
Right.
power.
Her source, yeah,
I took the environmental.
Well, he said in the interview that, if I can remember this now, sometimes Clara will say things and get it just right, and sometimes she gets it wrong.
Yes.
And so he found it interesting when she gets it wrong. In a sense, the Cooting's machine and the sun god, where she sort of misinterprets things a little bit.
Yeah, she maybe oversimplifies because she doesn't have the reasoning capabilities. She made it into a big thing that's destroying the world, which, well, kind of maybe on a smaller level, but I just, every time I saw that Cooting's machine, I would laugh because the name is so absurd.
Yeah.
I just Googled it and it says that was the name of the construction company that was on the side of the machine. It was Cooting.
Cooting.
Yeah.
Cootings. So, yeah.
So did anybody understand what happened when the father drained her oil or whatever the heck it was?
From Clara's?
Yeah, was he trying to sabotage her or what?
No, the machine.
He's trying to sabotage the machine.
Because he was very concerned about her.
Putting that into the Cooting machine would contaminate
Contaminated
the machine.
somehow. Yeah.
Turn it off, so make it non-operable.
Yeah.
I just didn't trust him, so I wasn't sure.
And then
Yeah.
Claire's belief that if she gave of herself, that would help Josie, that Josie would
Yeah.
survive. And she was so strong in that belief that the father said, okay, I'll go along with it. If you believe it that strongly. So I think that
Yeah.
was part of that religious idea that Clara had, really,
The
a
sacrifice.
religion.
The sacrifice.
Yeah,
The sense of
a
sacrifice.
self-sacrifice, yeah. And back to the religion part of it. So yes. Yeah.
But that shows that Clara had some emotion,
That's right.
willing to sacrifice for others.
Right.
Yeah.
And that she could read, yes, she could read others' emotions. So yeah, how much of it did she have, or just know that was what other people expected of her to see? Yeah, I agree.
Grow,
I wrote that in my notes. Mhm.
change.
Even she could read animals, because there's a scene where the bull looks so terrifying.
Yes,
Oh,
And the
Yes.
lambs looked peaceable with her.
yes.
Well, bulls are terrifying, but there was.
And
And
what
just
about,
as, I was gonna say, just as Arlen was saying about the depth and how much there was to this book, another part that really moved me was when the mother was out in the, they went to that Morgan Falls for the field
Yeah.
trip, I'll say.
yeah,
And she took Clara and not the daughter, and she was beginning to get this bond with Clara. Can you imagine how difficult? I wouldn't want to be in the place to know that you might be losing a child. And yeah, I can see where that was a real deep emotional part of the story there.
Clara had already shown some characteristics, especially on command,
yeah,
of Josie.
Josie.
And so she was in her and part of her experiencing it was to face the fact that if Josie died, she would be taking Josie's place.
Mhm.
And the mother saw the similarities and I think also realized her sacrifice, Claire's sacrifice for her daughter, and that made her feel some emotion towards her.
Mhm.
When you think about it, this could easily be a horror story because I am getting Frankenstein vibes. I am getting Pet Cemetery vibes because when dead things come back, they don't come back right. So it's like you could put this guy in the robot.
Well, they may make a movie of it.
You could put, but you know, it would not be the same child. And it's not, you know, at some point, it's like you have to accept that life is fine.
Yeah, but
So-
on the other hand, there are times during their teenage years, you would just as happily trade for a machine.
Oh, yeah. Kill them, yeah. But I'm just like, you know, this could have been written as sort of a scary Frankenstein-y kind of thing. Like if the kid did die, come back,
Too nice, too sweet.
the bad seed, you know?
Well, if anyone's read Ready Player One, there's a second book where they download the brain of the wife to a computer so that they still have it. I mean, I could see that's what they're aiming at here. They're gonna download
yeah.
Josie's brain into Clara, and then Clara will be Josie. But
Yeah.
not,
But only up to a point. I mean, the
yeah,
whole,
only to
for
a
me, the
point.
whole essence of the story is that artificial intelligence is not intelligence.
Yeah.
It isn't science.
Yeah.
And I think it's a misnomer to think of it as intelligence.
You see, on the other hand, I've always had this idea that computers are really men remaking themselves with the hard drive and the whole thing.
Be logical.
Trying to reproduce ourselves as machines.
Well,
All the different
Interesting.
parts.
And
It's like-
it can never be
Maybe
done.
we're all living in a dream world.
Right.
Who knows?
It can't be done. You can't reproduce intelligence.
Yeah. You never know. If you
Well-
study physics these days, they're talking about multiverses.
Oh, I understand that.
All that.
You know, the unbelievably complicated technology
Yeah.
that people visualize as a kind of intelligence.
Yeah,
But it's,
I agree with you.
it's artificial, but it's not intelligence, so to speak. It's a machine's intelligence rather than a human's intelligence.
Yeah.
well, as Laura was saying about computers, I think that's kind of boy world. You know what I mean? I think she's right. I think this is a way for men to attain immortality or something. So you make artificial intelligence and then you never go.
Well, and the other part, if you're going to talk about intelligence, is there's so many different kinds, you know,
Right.
there's musical intelligence and so forth. So is what part of they're trying to say is that there's more than one way that you can be intelligent and you can't really reproduce that, you know,
Right.
other types, yes.
You know, it's funny because I know in my head, I know that, but in my heart, I mean, I was so sad that she ended up on the trash
Oh,
heap.
me
I
too.
mean, I was just,
Ew.
Yeah, me too.
but she was in a junkyard. She had
Yeah.
just been sort of cast aside, you know?
She was an old model to begin with.
I think about everything that she did. I'm sitting there going, it's a machine, you know, but still.
But you
But
think
the-
Josie would have had, you know, some more feeling for it?
Exactly.
Like, I have my favorite dolls still.
Exactly.
Had she
Yeah.
lost her
Yeah.
power at the end?
I don't know.
It talks about that she could barely walk at the end.
It had been
I think that was
diminished.
just because she's sitting on the trash heap and no one's looking after her. But yeah, I don't know.
Away from the
So-
sun.
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't it interesting that the author created that empathy in the reader towards Clara?
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the attitude that the author
There's more
led the reader to. Yes, I thought that was interesting.
I think Josie could sort of discard her because Josie did not have the empathy. We were talking about how these kids didn't have empathy.
Josie was a
That would be maybe kind of a read.
And she would show that occasionally when she was with her other friends.
Yes, yeah.
She would be mean spirited and,
Mhm, very much so.
you know, she would
Elisa.
react.
Yeah. And then, well, then she should have ended up with Rick too, but you know, it was, he wasn't lifted, so that was good.
Right, so she can move on
she
and
can
discard
move
the
on.
things that don't
Did
work
did
for her.
anybody listen to the book? I would have been curious how they played the voice of Clara.
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
I did listen, but I can't.
I
they-
read it, so.
It was pretty straightforward, but then when she read the Rick's part, she gave it a little of an accent, British accent.
Yeah, in the book, he was.
Big
he had
Clara didn't have a
British accent.
mechanical tone to her or
Not,
anything?
not really, more of a childlike tone,
Like an innocent child kind of idea.
yeah. Well,
This spring, I read a book, a very popular book called The School for Good Mothers. Anybody read that? Well, huh? It
No.
into artificial intelligence. This young woman in the story, the protagonist, had left her, 18-month or 2-year-old daughter alone. She was kind of going through a crisis, left her alone for a few minutes. And the government came and took her into a school for good mothers. And there was also a school for good fathers. And at the school for good mothers, each student, I guess you could call him a student, was given an artificial intelligence type doll that could walk, talk, do things. And so the students had to learn how to care for this robot or artificial intelligence kind of a guy, but how do you categorize this book? Is it science fiction? Is it, what is it?
dystopia.
It reminds me of that, your story, it almost reminds me about in high school at home ec, and you carry around this.
It's a similar kind of
And
thing.
You have to
doing
take
that,
care of
yeah.
the flower bag.
Right, but these were very highly technical kinds of things. And the dystopian part of it was that you could be taken away from your child and your family and put in this school until you passed the tests, and there were tests. So, in a way, it was kind of spooky in that way. But then, of course, I read this book about the same time. I thought, boy, the artificial intelligence and robots are taking over. But yeah.
So is this a book for adolescents or adults?
What, the School for Good Mothers? Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, Laura had said
Well, he said
he was
not
gonna-
kids. His daughter said not for children.
Good, but
They'd
I'm
be
thinking like
traumatized.
adolescent, middle school,
Yeah, I don't know.
I think two
High
complex,
school.
upper high school perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone read anything else by him?
Yeah.
We read the Never Let Me Go.
Never let me go.
Oh.
That was a long time
A
ago. That
long
was,
time ago.
and it was such, I kept thinking about it, I kept thinking.
trying to
it was
remember the
Similar
plot.
themes. It was about, remember those kids that were in the school, you knew something was
Yes.
different about them, but
Yeah.
you couldn't figure out like what it was.
What was the name of that book?
Never Let Me Go.
Never Let Me Go. That's right. Yeah.
And yeah, and you really have this empathy, you develop this, they have their little society as you would, and you slowly realize.
They're being raised for
they're
their
being
organs.
raised For organs, that they're like,
Yeah.
maybe clones, of people were just raised for organs.
Yeah,
Very-
that was.
Yeah, that was, and it's funny because I really like that book, as
I-
haunting and as creepy as it was,
Yeah.
it really was very thoughtful.
They've
Well,
had
this one
movies
too.
where people will have a child born with some medical problem, and then they have another child grow up to be the donor. They do that.
But this is, you're totally sacrificing your body. Yeah, they
Right.
never let me
Yeah,
go.
they sort of would harvest the.
They would harvest, so they might
harvest
take
the
out a kidney,
'cause you could
and so
still
you're
live
still
with it.
living with that,
Yeah.
but then, boy, if they want the heart, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I think it was clones because they would talk about visiting, like they were
Exactly.
very excited to visit their
Visit, I
real
think it was
person, to go
clones.
see their
It
real
was,
person.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, I had,
That was book by Jodi Picoult.
I love it.
Two daughters and one of
I'll
them
have to use that
Yes,
as
needed
a-
a kidney and they had the second girl. And
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm the clone. I have to go see the real one at home.
well, and as I recall in that book, it took you a while to realize.
It took
Yeah, it
forever.
was very-
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were
Something's
reading this
wrong.
book and it was like normal kids and then,
Exactly.
yeah.
I had to say, but there was like this, because I wrote melancholy was my first word for this book. And I just had that same melancholy, like you felt like something was ready to fall, but you didn't have no idea what in the world it was.
Yeah.
You're like, I really like these kids. And remember there was a relationship between a boy and a girl.
Yes,
They were,
yes.
you know, and all of them, well, why couldn't they get married? Like, what's wrong with that? You know, and then it's like, oh, okay. now it's-
Yeah, kind of a weird book.
It was an
was
odd book. It
Yeah.
was
Are all of his books that way?
Well, the
Yeah, it
two
wasn't
two
really-
The
we've
ones,
read,
the historical fiction,
always
Mates
love
of
it.
the Day.
That was a film, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made the Day, I've heard of
Was
that.
always Never Let Me Go. That was a film also.
Yeah.
It was also
Yeah.
made. into a movie.
Yeah. That was a good book.
You know, we picked some weird books for this.
I was gonna say.
over the years.
And yeah, we just read, not before that, The Dinner. Do you remember The Dinner? When you, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, you know, we're thinking.
Was it Dutch?
That was in Dutch, yeah,
I
Dutch
remember
book.
that one.
Yes.
That was
Oh,
really
man.
bizarre.
I was like, yeah, book.
That's our leader. No.
But as you know, you all vote.
That's right.
No, I don't know.
And often one of us recommends them too. so
Well,
we know
there's
that
that
somebody
too.
else read them.
There's that. We can't blame it all on Laura.
No.
I wonder what the one is in this group that we're gonna say, how does this make
How
it?
does this make it?
How did that make the cut?
Yeah, the thing is, you don't know until you read it, right?
Right.
Right.
Well, and I
Should
even if you don't like this book and, you know, it made you uncomfortable, it certainly made me uncomfortable. It
Yeah.
touches on so many huge issues
Yeah, it
that I
does.
think it's an important book.
Yeah,
Yes.
this was.
It's worthy. It's
Oh.
worthy.
Maybe you.
I hope people like it better now that we've talked about it.
Yeah, I always like the
Well,
things people
Yeah.
don't know.
Indeed.
Well, you know, and this is I'm in another book group and we talked about it a couple months ago. And I so much more appreciated it after the discussion. And I'm even more today, you know. It's a book that just, you know, if you just think that you can take this book literally and just read it, there's a lot to it.
It hangs in there, it hangs in your brain.
Yeah, it's a different kind of a book for sure.
Well, now
I guess I deserve the no.
Yeah, do you see it differently, Rose?
well, I see machines differently.
Oh.
And then the idea, this machine, this has everything in my life right here.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And I am addicted. I can honestly say, I've been talking on my phone, been tired, to my son, the IT specialist, and go, wait a minute, I don't think I have my phone. Mom, you're talking on it. And that shows how addicted I am.
I can make my
Or how
phone
tired I
died
get.
last Thursday and I have been phoneless
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
6 days now. One is ordered, it should be delivered this
Yeah, I
afternoon or
can't
tomorrow.
be with But I can
Let me tell you,
understand.
it's
Should get one
no
of
fun.
these.
Well,
The smart watches are the new
yeah,
phone.
Yeah.
and I do the smart
You know, and boy, well, mine just said time to stand. I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to sit longer than an hour.
But I think that's how they get us. We start.
Well, are
being-
you saying the machine have already?
Yeah, I think Clara would have done that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Told
Yeah.
Josie
Yes,
and
right.
Yeah.
So we have machines that we accept.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we don't really think of them that way
As AI.
as being, 10 years ago, we never.
There's your AF.
Yes, that's right. And then this one.
We got 2 AFs.
Yeah.
I'm down to 0. and It's really hurting me.
Well, and Barbara was always asking Siri stuff. And
She's a good friend. I often
Anything you
thank
need to
her.
know.
Yeah. And I like to talk to mine and give her commands for my music in the morning.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then I thank her when I turn off the music, turn it off. And then I go, thank you. And she says, piece of cake. That's why I'm here.
Oh.
Or have a great day. And then she calls me by name. So I'm going, yep, I'm addicted.
wow. Which
I
one
live
is
alone.
that? that
I live
doesn't-
alone and it's soothing.
Siri,
Yeah.
that's
You can see that. That would be, yeah.
Alexa.
Alexa, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
Alexa.
yeah.
we don't have that, but yeah.
Well, with the son, IT specialist, I have all that stuff. All that streaming stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it does involve and intertwined in your life without you, like, for me, I didn't say, I want this. my son said, you need this, and pays for it. You know, he gets all this stuff for me. But I have no idea how I would live without it.
Yeah.
Because it has become such a social thing, you know, and then again, the COVID changed me. I think it changes, I think it's changed all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, in ways we don't fully appreciate yet.
Because he was telling me at the beginning, he says, Mom, you know, be prepared to be alone and go out there and get all the groceries and stockpile and do. I says, it's only gonna be a month.
Yeah.
You believe that?
Yes, at the time. And then he says, Mom, it's gonna be at least a year, maybe 2 or longer. And I said, that's not even,
How did
that's
he
not
do that?
gonna. He investigates everything.
We had a physician daughter-in-law who told us at the beginning, 18 months minimum. And we
Yeah.
like, oh, you're an alarmist. I didn't say that to her.
Right.
That's my daughter-in-law. She was
That's what we.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
here,
He does investigate everything for me and he prepares me, you know.
Oh, I need that.
And then, you know, when I go up north and lose my phone, you know, and it drops and I can't get internet, I have to turn on the radio. Otherwise I get a little anxious because I lost my internet.
yeah.
I'm addicted.
Well, I don't know if it's addiction as much as it is integrating something useful into your life. I mean,
Like Claire, I tell myself.
I
That's
say that
right.
I'm the beneficiary of spare parts right now. So, you know, I've got, this will be my second artificial joint.
Yeah.
You know, 50 years ago, tough it out, lady, here's a cane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm not gonna lie, it's grueling, but you know, in 6 months or 6 years or whatever, it's gonna
be better.
I'll be able to do stuff. So, you know, I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, the day after I finished reading this book or so, they had a news story about Elon Musk
Oh, God.
coming on his little, they do those shows on stage, and he
Ed?
introduced his artificial person.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and he said this is going to make him a lot more money than the cars, electric cars.
Well, at least
So
he's
now
not.
Was it a woman like robot?
it was very much robotic looking,
It was
But in a
shaped
human
like
form,
man.
so to speak.
sort of.
Like
Yeah, I
an
could probably
R2D2
find it if
sort
you
of
want.
Well, I've got a Roomba that vacuums my house.
I did draw the line
But
about.
do you talk to the
But-
Roomba?
Did you give it a name?
No.
We did.
No.
And I was determined to not have a feminine name.
But it is funny to have a robot. We have robots in our house with
It's
those Roombas.
wonderful, to talk to Charlie, because we have a male who does that work.
There you go.
There's a person on the spectrum is Elon Musk.
Yeah, for
For sure.
100%.
Yep. And look at him.
Yeah, he's made it.
Let me see if I can share this. I don't know.
Well, there's a picture of it.
Yeah, I saw the little video that he had where it came out on the screen. I don't know if I can get that to work. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a video there? I don't know.
Well, there's the
Oh,
hand.
there it is.
The AI age.
Watch now. See if this does work or not.
Elon Musk has a bold new forecast. The billionaire founder of Tesla and SpaceX said Monday that humans must someday merge with machines in order to avoid becoming obsolete. Musk, who's known for making bold claims and predictions, made the comments during a speech in Dubai. In his latest observation, he warned that disruption from driverless cars will happen more quickly than people realize, and humans need more processing power to better compete with computers as artificial intelligence technology improves. Musk says if you can't beat the machines, it's better to become one.
So they didn't show his robot in that, but
They couldn't take a duplication of me, I'm sorry.
they showed him introducing this thing on stage, and it looked like a robot man.
Well, they are mechanical.
I guess that's not it. I'm sorry, I should have planned that ahead of time.
That's okay.
Second thing down.
Is that
Here, he
the Tesla
reviews
bot?
this. He
Lot
reviews,
2.
Oh, here's,
maybe this is it. This is, goes on for a while, but of course, they'll make you watch these ads,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Will not load.
yeah, helping very well here.
I don't think we have to worry about machines quite yet.
But I don't see the robot here. It looks even more robotic than that.
Well, how many times have we wanted to
So,
call, make a phone call, and like even Social Security, for a good example. Then you finally, you have to. key everything
Humanoid
in and go
robot.
in, and your waiting time is approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. And
There, maybe this.
and then you're listening to all this while I walk around, with my phone in my pocket, and then
When we were a motorized bicycle company, they said,
and then you want to listen to a live human being.
Yes.
Representative.
You have to watch these ads all the
Same thing.
Yeah, sometimes for a little while you're talking to a robot, but you don't know it.
Right.
I've had that
Yeah.
happen.
I've answered the phone and carried on a start of a.
May 2022. I do want to set some expectations with respect to our Optimus robot. As you know, last year, it was just a person in a robot suit.
Let me jump it ahead.
Let's go.
So,
That's not quite like. So you can see,
We've had scary.
Well, it's like a fashion show.
what?
That thing came out like a fashion show.
Yeah, exactly.
The oot oot music and everything.
And you just have to put the skin on and then.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll be doing that.
Yeah. It'll be so expensive, no one can afford it. Matter.
Except, if they send rockets to out in space, these guys can afford things, right?
This is like the one that's on YouTube.
Arlen?
Yes. Hello.
Were you the one that, were you the one that said he was on the spectrum? I don't know that much about him.
Elon Musk?
Yeah.
Yes, well, I mean, this is only, I don't know, but I have read that and in observing him in situations, this would be my guess, but who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
say for sure, but my son has met him and he thought so.
Okay, yeah, see, I don't know anything about him other than the name of his car.
It's just so happens, I was reading this book and then this news item appeared, so it's kind of coincidence.
Surely all of us have had people, even if we haven't taught special ed in our lives, in our classes at school before they knew anything about autism, and they were different types of people, and we just don't know because like I said, the spectrum is so large, and who knows?
Yeah.
We all could be on the spectrum. I don't know.
We could be.
Probably are.
We're on some kind of a spectrum.
Yes.
Think about, I was just gonna think about a character from a book we've probably all read, Boo Radley.
Yes,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah.
I mean,
Definitely.
what interests me about autism and other discussions of emotional and mental processing disorders is that it used to just be, oh yeah, he's just like that. And we have kind of pathologized things that used to be just personality traits.
Right.
And some of which is because, if you're not functioning properly or if you can't function, then obviously you need help. But it's just interesting to me how everything seems to be a disorder now.
Yeah.
And I might overstate it. I'm just like, what about poor Boo Radley? He was doing his thing and he ended up being the hero.
I named my cat after him.
Oh, hey, Boo.
Scaredy cat.
And it wasn't that long ago that children would be beaten for those personality traits.
And bullied, very much bullied.
And everybody would say, well, if you discipline them more, or oh, you can take care, they're only acting out, they're only spoiled. You're not giving them enough discipline. And they'll be
That always works.
And to me, it just makes them withdraw that much more.
Or the even darker, the eugenics thing. And
Oh,
if
yeah.
anyone just watched the Ken Burns
Right.
Holocaust special.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I think where suicide comes into play when they're so devalued
Mhm.
and they're not dealt with properly.
On that happy note.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I do have this tape, but I will not put it on YouTube. If anyone wants to see it, let me know. And I'll try to figure out some way.
I'm glad you're
Make it-
not putting it out for everybody to see.
Right.
Yeah, I have that feeling too. So thank you.
Thank you. Good discussion.
Take care.
Oh, quick.
Good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Her purse is